from subsistence to prosperity, making it a source of dignity, innovation, and wealth creation for our people, end of quote. But has farming really taken a transformed dimension, as the president asserts? Are we actually making progress or still phlegmatic? Be reminded that during the second-year anniversary of the Feed Salone initiative, President Bio also unveiled the $105 million Livestock and Livelihood Development Project, jointly supported by the Islamic Development Bank, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and the OPEC Fund. Now, the project aims to enhance poultry and cattle production, improve animal feed systems, and expand income opportunities for rural households across Cambia, Port Loko, and Bombali districts. During the event, the president also said in his exact words, and I quote, "2 years ago, we launched Feed Salone with a simple but powerful message: to grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Today, we can see the impact. The production is rising, food imports are declining, and local produce is becoming more accessible and affordable," end of quote. Tonight, we ask the following questions. Are we really growing what we eat and eat what we grow? To what extent? Is rice production really rising, and are food imports really declining, as President Bio affirms? Where do we distinguish the fact from the assumptions or projections in President Bio's speech regarding the Feed Salone program? Tonight, we will deep dive into some of these pointers in the conversation. This is AYV on Sunday.
AYV on Sunday.
Hello and welcome. Please allow us to take you on an everlasting journey of hard-hitting journalism. No spin, no filter, just the truth.
On AYV on Sunday, we ask the questions that many are afraid to ask, and to test the level of sincerity and integrity of the people who have the power to shape our world.
From the bureaucratically minded corridors of power and the seats of the president,
to the deafening voices of the people that actually matter.
what you should know is that ours are not just mere conversations.
They are accountability personified, live, unfiltered, and in your face.
A live audience of 10 persons will also be included in each edition of the program on first come, first included basis.
Hello and welcome. I am Phebean Swill.
And I am Victor Jones.
And this is AYV on Sunday.
In the state opening of the third session of the 6th Parliament of the Second Republic of Sierra Leone, the President affirmed that his government is steadily transforming the bold vision of Sierra Leone in medium-term national development plan for 2024 to 2030 into real and measurable gains, bringing development closer to the people, restoring public trust in institutions, and laying the firm foundation for a more inclusive, resilient, and prosperous Sierra Leone. Is this fantastic blueprint already evident in the current Feed Salone program? The farmers are the very people who do the dirty work, or even engage in agro-marketing, among other significant pillars in the agricultural chain. And it's high time we start discussing food security focusing on their stories, on the progress made so far under the President's Big Five game changer, Feed Salone. From a direct excerpt of President Bio's speech, he said, and I quote, "Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we're making strong and steady progress toward food self-sufficiency. In 2024 alone, rice production rose by 8%, resulting in a 13% reduction in rice imports and saving the nation over $15 million in foreign exchange. These gains have resulted in a 20% decline in rice prices over the past year. 3 new rice mills are now operational, boosting domestic processing capacity and reducing post-harvest losses. The impact is clear. The World Food Programme, WFP, has cut its reliance on imported rice from 90% to 60%, sourcing the remaining 30% directly from Sierra Leone's resilient smallholder farmers." End of quote. Beyond rice, the president also noted that his governance is diversifying the country's food economy, adding that over the past 2 years, egg imports have fallen by 21%, and locally produced eggs are now 10% cheaper. Strategic market interventions and increased domestic supply have also made local onions 20% more affordable than imported varieties. For the first time, the president says Sierra Leone has begun exporting vegetable oil and other agricultural products, a sign of a more competitive and resilient agri-economy. Tonight, we ask the following questions. Where are we in the Feed Salone program with 2 years already gone? Has rice production really grown by 8%, resulting in a 13% reduction in rice imports, as declared by the president? Are we really making strong and steady progress toward food self-sufficiency, as beautifully mentioned in President Bio's speech? This is AYV on Sunday, and I am Phebean Swill. Good evening and welcome to this edition. Thank you for joining us tonight. You are highly encouraged to participate by dropping comments or questions on the comment section of our Facebook page, AYV News. Use that platform to add your comments. On the panel tonight are Alfayaya Mansae, he's the Director of Extension at the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Madam Maria Maketa, National Women's Leader, National Federation of Farmers, Sierra Leone, and John Gababangua, poultry farmer and entrepreneur. Good evening, lady and gentlemen.
Good evening, Phebean.
For obvious reasons, I'd like to start with the farmers in the studio. I took time mentioning excerpts from President Bio's statement, sort of a status report on the Feed Salone initiative. Quite a lot was said. I'll start with you, Mariama. What the president said versus the reality, what's the difference?
For me, as farmer, he who knows it feels it. It's the same. And because His Excellency appointed a very dynamic minister and a sustainable technical team, that's why he's getting all these informations. Because as technical team, the ministers, all of them we are there on the field, match to match, from land preparation to production to harvesting to post-harvest. So as Minister of Agriculture, they know all our ins and outs. They know our constraints. They know the values. They know everything about us. So if His Excellency, the President, announced that kind of statement, is true because of the viable technical team that is there. I don't say before, but now the technical team is really working. In fact, it seems as if all of us are doing the farming now, because all of us are down there playing with the dirt. It's true.
Life as a farmer before Feed Salone and life as a farmer now under the Feed Salone initiative. Tell us the differences.
Life as a farmer before was hard, because even when it comes to application, they will ask so many questions, especially as a woman. We are vulnerable and we don't know those big grammars, so we have to find somebody to help us. At the end of the day, even being as a woman farmer, being a viable farmer, you will lose that project. But since the Feed Salone come, you find out that more percentage of women are on board. And then we are the bread basket of this Feed Salone, and we are the bread basket of the farming. If food sustainability is real in Sierra Leone, 70% of women farmers are doing the dirty job. Because as an African woman, we have so many hands. That's our logo. One hand is going to the farm, one hand is fetching water, another hand is taking care of the home, another hand is cooking, taking care of the husband. So that's why when His Excellency announced this agenda, it helped us as women to brace up properly to do more.
I'll come to John. The president said quite a lot. From your perspective as a poultry farmer and as an entrepreneur, what would you say about the submissions that President Bio made? Are they a reflection of the current reality?
Maybe we put this into perspective.
Please go ahead.
First of all, we need to understand what is the annual, for instance, I would want to come from the angle of the rice, because Feed Salone and a greater percentage of the funding from government that is going for rice cultivation in these agroecological zones, basically. So a greater portion of the fundings is going to rice. So maybe I put the perspective. For the annual consumption of rice in Sierra Leone, it's estimated, according to recent statistics, I think during the Agro Investors Summit, it's around 1.4 million metric tons per year. This is what Sierra Leoneans consume. And so, more or less, now we have reliable data, or we have a system in which government collect data. We have the national, annual agricultural production survey that is done by FAO, done by Statistics Sierra Leone and MAF. So the data is telling us that as of 2024, we've produced 1,066,000 metric tons, so thereabout. So it means there is still a gap. So if we are to arrive at a point where we will be self-sufficient in terms of rice, we have to be able to produce in its entirety the consumption of Sierra Leoneans. For me, I have issues with sustainability. Now that the project, this Feed Salone initiative is rolling out, a lot of funds is going to support farmers. I have issues with the approach of supporting these farmers because these farmers, some of these farmers will not be able to continue after, because of the yield issue. Because if they cannot be self-sustainable, they cannot produce cheaply to be able to compete in the market. We've seen that the local rice is expensive than the imported rice. That is largely because of the cost of production, because of the yield is poor, basically. So I believe government has to invest in the agricultural research to ensure we have seeds that can actually give us some very good yields, so that our farmers will be very much interested in farming, and they will be self-sustainable. Otherwise, they cannot compete. And it's a free economy. We've seen that this drive has to take place if we want to reach at this point. And so we look at the Tomabom as well project. I believe this project as well is overrated, because initially when it was launched, we were told it's a 35.4 thousand hectares that can actually just cover maybe 30 or 25% of the consumption of the rice consumption of the Sierra Leonean. So it means there is much more to do in terms of yield, in terms of research. Because now they are pumping money. FSIP is supporting farmers, thousands of them. But some of these farmers, after one, last year, even in Pujon, some farmers were unable to continue because they cannot sell. And they have an approach that would that has some limitation factors for farmers to continue. It's not about pumping the money. We have to get private sector to actually take the responsibility. It's not government is not going to do everything. It has to create the environment for farmers to see it as a profitable investment, for them to come in to this sector to produce.
But farming itself is a business. How much of a business approach do farmers take in going into the business of farming?
Yes. I tell you that our farmers, the challenge, like I said, is yields. If I cannot produce cheaply, I cannot compete. It has nothing to do about managerial issues, business knowledge. Of course, it's important. Business knowledge is important. But if I cannot produce cheaply, if I cannot be supported by research, because it's only government that can do R&D is quite expensive, and government can do it, and then they allow the private sector to come in with these new innovations, with these new varieties.
What role does research play in this? Because there's slurry. Slurry is also part of this body of farming in the country. And from time to time, they communicate some of the researches they've done. What role does research play in this? And how strategic is slurry in this conversation?
I think it's quite important. Everyone will attest to it. But we have seeds in this country that the highest is, I think it's Nerica L19, that is around, is it 2.9 or 2.5 or 2 tons, thereabout, basically. We are talking about, there are some countries like Egypt that is the top producer of rice in the country. They are doing 6 tons per hectare. They have seeds that can produce 6 tons per hectare. So over the period, we've seen a lot of investment in research, and it has not been translated into yields for us.
So we'll take that question straight to Alpha. Alpha, why is this the situation in the country? We do have a lot of institutions. Slurry is lead for research. What is the problem? We're now specifically focusing on rice. We'll come to other items, but taking the trend of the conversation, rice particularly. We do have slurry for the research. We spoke about Tomabomb, but yet we still find ourselves in this situation. And as John put it, if it's that challenging for the local farmers doing rice production, if production in itself is very expensive, it's a non-starter for them to even compete with imported rice.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think in terms of seeds, we are making massive progress. And so let me take you back to the strategic pillars that we set for ourselves, given the objectives that we want to deliver upon within our Feed Salone initiative. So we are clear that seeds and input system very much critical if we really want to move faster with our transformation process. And we've been working with slurry. We've been trying to ensure that slurry, in terms of their research, do research that informs us as a ministry, and do research that solves the problems for the farmers. So we've changed that narrative. Now it's a problem-solving research that slurry is doing. So if you see recently the president released varieties of seeds. These are varieties that are highly resistant. We know the global changes that is happening now with the climate. We're also supporting research students from slurry who are doing adaptive research so that we can localize, our seeds in country. And the good thing we are having, for the last 2 years, we've not imported seeds. We used to bring seeds from...
Where were we getting our seeds
So we're getting seeds from our local seed entrepreneurs.
No, before now, where were we getting
So before now, we are getting
from?
seeds from Burkina Faso. We are getting seeds from Vietnam. So that's the massive transformation we have made over the last couple of years, because these are the gaps that we have identified, that we cannot take seeds from Burkina Faso, who is a very dry country. They are breeding their seeds to receive less water so that it gains the highest productivity productivity, and then we bring that seed into cereal that we have 9 months of intensive rain. So that's where we are getting the issue of yield in terms of productivity. So we've changed that narrative. Now
So over the last 2 years, you say we've not been importing rice seeds.
Yeah.
We've been using those in country.
Yeah.
What is the impact of that? What's the evidence of progress in that area?
We're making progress. So it was around 1 point yield per metric per unit area. It was around 1.6. And now we are talking about 2.6 in terms of the data. But it also deals with management practices. So if you do your agronomic practices very well, you apply all the ingredients very well. So like the farmer said, you go to Egypt, you go to China, these varieties, they hit 10 metric tons per unit area. Same, when they're doing it at the research field, they are 5-6 metric tons in Cambia.
So why is it then when it goes to the actual rice farms themselves, the output is not commensurate to the input?
So that's the conversation, and that's where we are moving in terms of how we can provide that advisory services to farmers, how we can ensure that farmers have that additional ingredient to
What's the problem?
So the problem is how they can access fertilizer, because these seeds required fertilizer for them to hit the highest potential. And we know the challenge with fertilizer in country is very expensive. Not every farmer will be able to provide 7 bags of 50 kg, to apply per hectare of fields. So if you underdose your crop, definitely you will not have that return. If you don't have the required appropriate pesticides to manage the fields, you'll have these challenges. And that's why we are still managing our yield between, from 1.6, now we are at 2.67. I think for us, it's a progress that we have made, and we are developing seed entrepreneurs. So let me also take you back how this whole seed system works. So Slurry, they receive breeder seeds from their counterparts. So you go to IIT in Nigeria, they have African rice. So they will give breeder seeds. So it's the responsibility of Slurry to transform the breeder seeds, these are in small quantity, to foundation seeds to the next level. And now Slurry, that's where their mandate stopped. And now, Slurry, we have identified seed entrepreneurs across the country. People we think that they have the capacity, to produce seed at that quality so that farmer can utilize, within their field. So now we've identified, so Slurry will take the foundation seeds to the seed entrepreneurs, seed producers. They will produce first-level certified seeds. And these seeds will be taken to the farmers. So that's how we've been moving. But the challenge we've also been having is these certified seeds are meant to be used only per cropping season. They are not meant to be recycled. So we have a huge challenge. The maths, Minister Parker was talking to one of the professors. We're designing the agro-industrial cluster project. Now we want to hit that. We want to ensure that we have seeds, certified seeds, every year for all farmers in Sierra Leone, if they can be able to access. Because there is no way you can repeat seeds, because remember, from breeder seeds is one generation. Foundation seeds is another generation. Certified seeds is another generation.
So the longevity of the seeds in itself is now questioned. There's a lifespan. What would become of the process, the farming process for rice, when we reach that time frame when, it actually...
Oh, definitely. That's why we are saying, so as the seed entrepreneur producing the certified seeds, because they are doing business, we want farmers to access that seed. These seeds are fresh. They will be clean. Now we have a national seed cleaning entity in Makeni, first of its kind in the West African region, that seeds, have to be processed in that manner that reaches the hands of farmers so that they can be free of innate matters and whatever, so that we can have the potential yield of that specific variety. We know we've been talking about organic and inorganic also, but that's another conversation. But in terms of the development of the lands, so that's why we are moving also into mechanization. We want to develop this land. Our lands are not developed. If you go to other countries, you see their lands are developed, tailor-made for rice production. So each year, the way we are having the challenges we are having with our farmers, they keep on cultivating new fields. And for each year you go to a new field, there are different dynamics. So you have to take 2 to 3 years to develop the land, level the land, so that when you apply fertilizer, you apply chemical, it's, spread evenly, across the profile of the soil. So, and you see what we have done also, just to ensure that we get our yield right, we've done our soil mapping. We now have our soil profile across the country. For 60 years, we've not mapped our soil. So we've been doing blanket fertilizer application, which is not good for rice productivity. If you go to Egypt, you go to Vietnam, they do single, application of fertilizer, not compound. We are doing compound because that's why we are doing 15-15, 20-20, because we have not, have that knowledge of what really exists after 60 years. But now, moving forward, we will be doing precision application of fertilizer because we know now across key strategic ecologies the limiting factors in terms of the nutrient density.
Is the rice yield productive across all the districts in the country, or do you have specific locations that are more favorable to rice?
Yes. So we've boxed our Sierra Leone into agroecological zones. So that's why you always have this conversation. We're talking about Tomabom. We're talking about Cambia, Mambolo, and Kichom. We're talking about Tonkolili. So these are our rice bowls. So comparatively, they have advantages. They are, if they do best management practice, they hit about 3-4 metric tons per hectare, those riverine and mangrove ecology. And that's where the concentration is. So that's where our focus is. If we can do 10,000 hectares, in Kichom and Mambolo, and then you don't need to go to other places, to just do farming just like that. So we have to ensure that those private sector we are bringing in, now that we have complete information about what exists within Tomabom, Mambolo, Kichom, the places you go to Kenema, they have their own comparative advantage, which is the inland valley swamp. That's what they are known for. So this is how we are doing it box to box. So if we have now private sector coming in, now you see many private sector are moving into Tomabom. That's where the space is. That's where they can hit, rice yield potential.
Let's assess the business opportunities available. So we're still spending some time on rice.
Sure.
What quantity of rice does Sierra Leone need annually? This is to cover both local and imported rice. This is, again, assessing the business opportunity available in rice farming. What's the capacity there?
So like he said, the data is showing 1.3 to 1.4 million metric tons.
How much is coming in currently from imported?
So we're still grappling with the 30-35% that is coming in. So that's the trajectory.
So that in itself, that gap is a significant business opportunity.
Exactly.
We will dwell on that. I wanted to get that clearly. Mariama, he spoke about the seedlings being provided, fertilizer, and, mapping. Beyond these, I'm not sure if you yourself as an individual, you're into rice farming. I know you're representing the association, but if perhaps you have an idea on, what rice farmers go through. Beyond the solutions he mentioned, what are the other problems? Because to solve the problem, you really need to dwell on understanding the problem properly. Are these the solutions needed, or are there other problems that are yet to be solved?
Madam Moderator, I want to correct one thing and the public as a whole. I am a farmer, I'm a rice producer and a vegetable producer. When you go to the ministry, you see my marketer, my name is an household name because he who knows his feels it. That's why being part of the federation, as head of farmers in this country, you should make sure you are a practical farmer because when advocating, giving your voice for farmers in policies, because we are all in the policies, you should know it. So you don't, the grass cutter is no stranger in the bush, yeah? So let me say, because of this, iron content, it was so much. Even as local farmers, they trained us, what it means, how it look like, how to mitigate it, even before all those trainings comes. So, recently, as the Director of Extension has highlighted, it has been approved and cleaned. So that's how the soil is now. So they are doing their best as Minister of Agriculture. Because of that iron content, every 1 hectare, you will use up to 6 to 7 bags before you get good yield.
Of fertilizers.
Of fertilizer. Before you get correct yield. You understand? Or else you will not get it. And each bag before, it cost 1,500
Per bag.
per bag. So you think about that local rural farmer at that Fakai, he or she can't afford. So that's why the ministry in collaboration with NGOs are doing their best, you know, without fertilizer, how to use compost, because it's your livelihood, it's your sustainability. It's not all about farming, it's not all about education. It's about your practical knowledge, what you know, how you can transform, the home, going to bed without, hungry, yeah? So they've done their best, so it remains to us farmers to pick it up.
Are these all the problems solved, or are there pending problems?
No, not yet solved. It's not yet solved because the government cannot bring in all the fertilizers farmers needed. And as at now, the increase of farmers, being the elites are coming in. You know, they are coming in every day. That's why, as Nav said, we have data in collaboration with the ministry. People are coming in because at one, some people they will be educated, go to school. Up to college level, up to master's degree, but there is no job. So as a woman, I have so many women I have mentored, and today they don't want to even sit in the office. They want to be processors. They are agripreneurs, and they know what to get from there. But the suffering is the farmers, the rural women. It's really hard, and that's because that includes global crisis. Because of global crisis, so that affects us here.
So the whole farming in itself is a business.
What you
produce would need to be bought by the consumers to keep the business going.
Yeah.
One of the issues with rice, locally produced rice, is the processing aspect. Imported rice, clean, most of it, less stones, but with the locally produced rice, there is a significant number of stones in the rice. Why is that the situation?
But since the intervention,
that in itself is a problem.
Yeah,
from a consumer perspective.
It's not all the chiefdom. But since the intervention of the field salon, I can testify as Nav said, we supplied machines, processed machines. Each of those machines can mill, they can polish, they can destone. Yeah, so that is why all the rice of WFP is supplied women, agripreneurs. They are clean, they are destoned, well processed, and clean environment. Yeah, some of those rice are coming from those far villages that don't have the access to come to the center. You know, it's hard. Maybe road network. Maybe bikes problem. They have to maybe carry it a long distance before they have bike. So at the end of the day, they will sell it where the produce is. And so most of our rice, in fact, go to Guinea. Most of our rice go to Guinea. And not only rice is paper food, you have these yams go to Guinea, up to Banjul, you have our plantains going out. Because example, like
that in itself is a form of export.
Yes. So like Falaba, most times they will go to Guinea for sale. Oh yes. I've been there, as Nav said, we have times to go out to the farmers to see, to see what they are doing.
That's another form of export, though it's debatable on whether it has a good or negative impact on the nation. So there is
a problem. You think about pesticides. So in production, it's a cycle. If you don't produce all these things, trust me, you will not get.
How good or bad is rice business in Sierra Leone? Do you make return on your investments?
Well, for me, I'm an agripreneur, I'm a producer. I process, I add value, yeah? I sell, and I make profits, not too much profits. But one thing in the business, the faster it goes, as long as the customer knows your rice is good. I even have customers.
I just wanted us to get this clear, whether it's losses or profit. So it's not losses, it's profits. So what needs to be looked at is the profit margin.
Yes.
Okay.
It has a profit.
John, you don't seem to agree.
Yes, I think.
Because at first they were.
I am in the agricultural sector.
Yes. At first, let me tell you. At first, it was really difficult. Except projects will give a particular group that wins the project that they will have a whole processing unit. But since the feed salon is here, there are processing machines, but it's not
Is this
enough.
accessible to every rice farmer in the
No,
country?
no, it's not enough.
So to those rice farmers who don't have access to these infrastructure, to
Well,
them, would you say they're going through losses?
Well,
This is, again, the questions are not just for you individually as a farmer,
talking as a whole.
but yes, so...
I'm talking as a whole. That's why through the Ministry of Agriculture, the little machines they have, we have to identify chiefdoms. Now, through that chiefdom, other villages will come to mill their rice. In fact, they will sell the husk rice to the heads of that ABC center. That's why that's why it's called ABC center. It's not enough to take down to the village. So that is why in every village of that chiefdom, we come together and then mitigate to process the rice, clean the rice. In fact, I would say for WFP, that's how it is. It's not only the ABC Center, but it comes from other groups, it comes from other farmers.
Would you say all the rice farmers in the country run at a level where, though they don't make as much profit as they desire, but they're not running at a loss, all the rice farmers in the country?
You only get losses when due on production, like flooding, like natural. That's how the losses comes. Because what you're expecting to harvest, you will not get.
So there are rice farmers who experience losses in the country?
Because the profit starts from the harvest. So too, it starts from the harvest. If you experience post-harvest, then trust me, there will be no much profit.
How much impact does the weather have on rice farming? Is it a good or bad impact?
Last year there was so much flooding, bad impacts. The director can attest to that, bad impact. All over the counties cry. Even me as a farmer, I was a victim of that, of circumstances, of that particular flooding. But this year we thank God, except for the harvesters are not enough. So another post-harvest loss is coming and harvesting is still on. So, they are trying, but it's not enough.
The weather index insurance was launched. Has that been much of a benefit to farmers in the country?
It's not, yes, Activa. We have Activa now, and we have IIC. So, Activa has not yet started really on agribusiness products, but IIC has started. In fact, IIC will gone up to regional levels all over the country. They've done sensitization, they've done everything they have to do on IIC. So now, for this year, we have two, because the more the merrier, we have insurance that will help us farmers, and farmers have started chipping in.
John, you did not agree earlier with some of the things Mariam has said. What do you disagree with?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier on, for me, my concern is sustainability. Of course, now that the farmers have been sponsored, they have been given this support, this handout, some of them will be able to carry on now. They make profits because it's more or less a grant, or maybe they give them support in terms of mechanization, which I want to thank the government for. I think it's a good thing to do. It's part of their, how is it called, pillars. One of the pillars is mechanization and irrigation. That is amazing. My concern is the profitability. If the yields are good, our farmers can be able to sell competitively in the market. But if the yields are not very good, they can't be competitive. It's not that they are wicked for them to sell, as we are saying that the local rice is expensive than the imported rice. It's not that they are wicked, it's because of their cost. Yeah. She was just mentioning that 7 bags you need to apply in an hectare. 1.5, it's almost around 10,000, so 10,500, just 1 hectare. And then there are other costs. There are mechanization costs, there is harvest, as she was saying, also processing costs, packaging, because we need a lot of it. Because if we want to compete, if we want to see our rise in the market, we have to as well work on packaging. I think it's part of the pillars as well in the feed salon strategy. Yeah, it's amazing. For me, I think my concern is the sustainability. At the end of feed salon, I'm very sure if we don't take structural solutions, we don't fix the issues, then we will reverse. The progress will reverse. As it is now, the momentum has taken place. It's high. A lot of people are coming in. She was just telling you from the NAFCEL, the number of influx they're having. interest has been generated because the message of the president is very passionate. Call to feed our nation for the integrity of our food system. It's important. And so a lot of people are coming in. My fear is these people coming in, if it's not profitable, they stop. We see similar situation. The hectares cultivated. 2024, we cultivated just for rice 616,000 metric tons. 1,000 hectares cultivated for rice alone. 2023, we did more. You see, so there is a retrogression basically from the data. This is also a very good thing. We now have a national survey that the ministry is conducting for us to know the actual output. So we speak to the data because numbers don't lie. We have to speak to the data if we want to solve the issues that we have in the sector. And so for me, that's where my issue is. The issue is, the concern is, our farmer government has to de-risk the sector. The risk as in research and development, as we have seen. We cultivated more than even Egypt that is producing 4 million metric tons a year. We cultivated 660,000. Egypt is cultivating 400,000 metric tons. They are having more yields, double of what we are doing. It means, well, if you look at what Egypt is doing, it's more or less, it's not rain-fed. Of course, we have 5 ecologists here in Sierra Leone that rice is doing well in inland valley swamp, I think. That's the best ecology that rice is doing well. And the maximum is 2.5, 2.6, as the director was saying. So it means irrigation is the way to go. If we want to fix the issue structurally, like he has said, there are 6 agro zones for rice. Basically, they've been divided into clusters. We have the Tomabom and the Bonapi and the Canberra. We have in the Kichong and the how is it called? Mambolo as well. These are the 2 clusters of rice. If this area puts together all of this cluster will give us 92 hectares cultivated. So it means we would have covered, if these lands are irrigated, we would have covered 60 to 70% of the consumption of Sierra Leoneans. So it's important because for the small farmers that are cultivating, it's fine. Because it's not just about food security, it's about creating jobs. It's about livelihood. So the smaller farmers can actually go into these ecologies and then produce. Because what government is doing is just to create the infrastructure. It's not for them to run it. They want to get the private sectors to go into this cultivation. And rice does well in irrigation facilities.
Alpha, the question would be, John makes it sound easy. The question is, why aren't we there yet? He has put across a very strong point, but why aren't we there yet?
Yeah, he understands the situation, and like we always say, it's a work in progress to attain food self-sufficiency. It's a walk in the park, and the trajectory of growth, we are seeing it now. So like he said...
how much longer before we get there?
Yeah,
that we can be able to produce about 60% of the rice?
Yeah, we've set ourselves a target for 5 years, but you know how these things happen. Sometimes...
A target for 5 years. Sorry, take a pause quick.
Yes.
John, do you think we can arrive at that destination faster than 5 years?
It's possible to do.
Okay.
Yes, and that is why we are fixing the critical foundational work. We are developing our irrigation system because we know that's the right path to go. We are showing a model in Tomabom. What we are doing in Tomabom is a space that can take over 30,000 hectares of irrigation infrastructure.
How much of that is being used?
So now we are showing a model that we want to do 5,000 irrigation scheme, and then we open it up to private sector players.
So the private sector players you mentioned, quite a lot has been said about how much they're encouraged, especially the rice importers, to switch from becoming rice importers to rice cultivators in the country. How is that negotiation or marketing, so to speak, for lack of a better way to put it, how is that coming along? Because it happened with the onions.
Yeah.
Many of those who were importing rice are now growing, who were importing onions are now growing onions. The pressure that was put on onions before in the market, the complaint about the price and availability seems to have been nearly a conversation of the past. Take note, nearly a conversation of the past. But you want to adopt that model to rice. It seems very slow to get to that point with the private sector.
Yes, we agreed, and we know we will get that bombs as we move on. Remember, we passed that policy. The policy was clear. When we had the feed Salone strategy, it was backed by two main policies first. The one was the institutional feeding policy, because we wanted to find space for market. Because when you want to increase production and productivity, we don't want to have a situation where we have rice and then there is no market. So we passed that policy, and that's how we are moving now with WFP, SLPMC, and many others. You see the changes now we're having.
Are there
stories.
good results from the conversations, you know, behind the scenes with these rice importers to now transition to rice producers?
So I just I will flip to the importers. I was just saying now for the institutional feeding. Now we're in a very good platform with WFP. We want to scale that conversation. We're in the conversation now with the military. You see a lot of work being done with the military, and we want to scale that with the Sierra Leone police and then the Ministry of Health and Science, because these are the areas where largely our rice is being consumed.
The military itself launched the DES project. They are now coming into entrepreneurship as a force. They would be growing not just rice, even cashew. They're now going into farms, and beyond just even the agriculture, there are other sectors they're going into. But with the plan they have, would their proposal, would their activities suffice to cater to the rice issues in the country?
Yes, these are all the added bits that you need. Every hands on deck to ensure that we have, you know, we attain our rice self-sufficiency in a very faster space, because the military alone, if they can produce the rice, you know, to feed, you know, the military men, the police. And these are the areas where in terms of absorbing the imported rice that is coming in. These are the areas that is going into. So the lessons we've learned with WFP, you see in just 2 cultivation seasons, we're almost 40% with that. The data WFP is showing us is by 2028 will be 100% homegrown for schools. That's a positive data for us. So we are taking it step by step. We know there is urgency, but we in terms of the importer side, it's a catch-22 situation. Yeah, we're engaging. We are always engaging them. I think we've engaged them more than any other entities. Just trying to ensure that they come on board, and that's the policy was clear.
Are they expressing interest in this idea?
They are. We've done field visits with them. Major importers. We've visited the fields. We were at Lion Mountains. We went to the fields in Tonkolili, these large fields. But what we are saying is, we don't want you to come and produce like PC and Sons. It's a very difficult route to take, because you could say it. You can just go to China and Bangladesh and buy rice and come and sell. That's fine. But we said participate in the value chain. Our farmers are producing. We want our rice to be competitive, not only in price, but in terms of tastes for our consumers, because our people, our citizens, are not eating our local rice because of the perception that our rice is not, you know, at that standard with the imported rice. But we are sure...
Difference is the local rice is sweeter and much healthier than the imported rice.
Perfect, and that's the narrative we are selling. We are showing our people that you eat local rice, you eat healthy rice. But because of the issue of stone, the debris, and all of this, and it's a generation we are in, that since the 70s, when we used to export rice and eat local rice, that generation is completely changed. And now with my own kids, there's no way you can give them. So it's a whole lot of behavioral change, even as we ramp up production and productivity for our local rice.
But behavioral change is one thing. How about as well putting the product in their faces? Understanding that phrase. Take, for example, we do have government ministries, departments, and agencies that have events. During these events, there's a lunch break, there's breakfast, there's dinner, there's food provided. But how many of these events produce, or put it as, you know, as a criterion for the caterers to say, you should bring the locally produced rice, giving people who would be in attendance an opportunity, those who have not tasted local rice, to get a glimpse of what it tastes like.
I totally agree, and that's the conversation also with promoting local content. And we're seeing Feed Salone is a whole of government approach. So once we're doing it as a ministry, our focus, our mandate is to increase production and productivity and set some of the policies right. There are entities, who are responsible to ensure that our local, produce, the commodity that we produce locally are visible.
Because in those conferences, you do have foreign people who come as well. But
exactly.
they don't get the opportunity of tasting our
local rice. And they like
rice.
our local rice if you take them to the restaurants privately and then they eat the rice. But it's to us, within the ministry, and I know from the broader perspective, is because of what we are doing now. We are seeing all this rice milling system being, the infrastructure we are building across those zones, and the rice mills that we have distributed across the country, like the NAFCEL, National Federation of the Women's Leaders said, across the 15 agricultural districts, we distributed rice milling machine across. It's going to smallholder farmers at community level, just for them to ensure that they produce rice with that quality, process with that quality, and then consume. At least at local level, you need to be self-sufficient, and then the surplus. Because what we are seeing now, if our farmers are selling to WFP, it's the surpluses. It's not the rice that they consume at home. Because in rice production, at home consumption level, when you produce, you have to do all the maths and say this is the rice that because it's one season cultivation you are doing. So you have to save for the home, and then you market the surplus. But the trajectory is changing now, because now we know our local rice, in terms of price, it has better price than the imported rice. So the people are coming for our local rice, the farmers, they will sell and they will buy the cheap rice. So it's a whole lot of situation we are into. But once we develop all this infrastructure, I said, I go back, recently we do the Sakata rice milling machine. These are the rice milling machine producing rice, processing rice for school meals with high quality. For far too long, we've been challenged with having quality rice to schools. You have inspectors, they will go and say, no, this rice is not within that standard, but it was passed through the Standard Bureau. So as long as we are building this critical infrastructure, I know the importers, they will come. We'll say, come and work within the space. Don't be a producer like PC and Sons. Yeah. On the sustainability aspect, I hear my brother, yes, and that's why we are building this into phases. Yeah, we know at the end game is private sector that will come and run within this space. But they have to work with our smallholder farmers.
Mariam spoke about those who export the rice to neighboring countries. What impact does that have on Feed Salone initiative? Is it good or bad?
It's huge. It's huge. Or in terms of, well, it's both positive and negative. They are accessing markets. So to me, sometimes I said we're exporting. People said, no, where is the data? Where are the revenue being collected? That's another conversation. But the fact that we know the huge volumes of rice going into our neighboring countries, and that is the main reason why we are setting up the agro-processing zones in those localities, so that we can account for the rice going to the other side. And we did that this year. But there are still hundreds and thousands and hundreds of bushels of rice still stuck, with farmers, and they have no way to market. They can still take it and to the other side to sell, because that is where they have premium, for our local rice, because the Guineans, they value our local rice. The Liberians, they value our local rice. But here the conversation is, because we've peg ourselves to eating the pushawas.
Based on affordability, not by quality.
Yes, it's based
quantity
on
over quality.
Exactly, but we are pushing this narrative now that it's better you eat rice produced within the last 12 months, which is fresh, healthy, and then you eat rice produced, and then shipped, that is taking 5, 6, 7 years, because in-store management is first in, first out. And you know what happened with COVID? That's the signal. When we had COVID, countries started putting ban on, exporting, rice out of their country. So that's a signal for us to say they have to be first self-sufficient, and they had their projection well, that in the next 5 years, the stock we have will not run dry. And then we can have all these people who come and buy rice to sell in other African countries.
Let's spend some time focusing on food diversification. When you talk to doctors, they would tell you that rice every day is not really healthy for you. But rice is our staple food. We don't seem as a nation to diversify on our menu. For most homes, restaurants, fufu is once a week. The rest of the 6 days, it's just rice, rice, rice. We have other food, but we're just stuck on rice every day. John, I want to hear your perspective on this. Food diversification, do you think this could come in as well to help us? Cassava is also another, but cassava is used, okay, they help us make gari, so people do gari. But unlike Nigeria, Ghana, where there are a variety of options, even to the local cookery sellers, we don't seem to enjoy much of that in Sierra Leone. It's rice 95%.
So maybe that takes us back to the phrase that says, let us produce what we eat. If it's rice, then we should work on rice. Of course, I agree with you that we have to, as a nation, we have to diversify. So we reduce dependence on rice. Being that at the moment, we cannot actually reach at the point where we can say we are self-sufficient.
If we're diversifying, what do you think would be the other options on the table to substitute for rice?
It will be cassava. Of course, cassava we are producing. It's the largest contributor to the national production in Sierra Leone. We're producing like 2 million metric tons of cassava, according to the annual agricultural report 2024. That's the production. So it means we have enough to even for the entire consumption of Sierra Leoneans. The problem is, like you said, it has to do with perception. If we are to reach at that point, I'm sure it has to be processed as well, because for us to be at the point where we are, where we constantly work on rice, it's the same thing for other countries. Even though they have varieties, but because of shortage of certain variety, that prompts them to go into the reason why we've been very much focused on the rice is because even the other products we were unable to produce. Cassava, it's quite recently that we have investments. Of course, the ministry as well is doing a lot in trying to boost the cassava as a way of diversification, as you said. And even cassava flour is part of the objective, strategic objective to how is it called, substitute import, basically, for cassava flour. So it's important, but we have a history wherein we are not producing this enough.
But now we are.
Yes. So everyone focus on rice. So it has to be, it's a process, I believe.
Even bread, I see now that, you know, some bakers are using other flour to produce other varieties of bread. Before now, it's just rice.
So you see, that comes to availability, like I said. Now we have cassava flour. A lot of people, producers are working on cassava flour because we have huge amounts of cassava. And cassava is the top yield in Sierra Leone, 11.8 tons. That's what the data is saying. No other crop is doing this. So it means we can do a lot with cassava in terms of diversification, in terms of reducing the import dependence. Because flour, as you said, we import a lot of it. So if we can produce flour here and we have the quantities required to process, then we would have a situation wherein we'll be self-sufficient. I mean, the economy will grow because food security of food is not just about having it. It's about creating jobs as well.
What do you think about the diversification partner of the conversation? How do you think we can diversify, or do you think it's even a good idea for diversification of our diet as a country?
That's very good. I think in that case, farmers produce vegetable production is high too now, since this food salon is here. Like lettuce, tomato, you go to the market, tomato. But because of this our perception of eating habits, they say we'll just see, the tomato is not too expensive. You will see four tomato at 5,000. In fact, if you buy that portion, take it to the home, you manage up to the week. If you have 5, 6 in the home, because of that perception, that's why. Also, we need partners to come in, line ministries, example, like the Minister of Health. Minister of Health, because the eating habit starts from the early stage, or else you will not get it right, even at old age. Some people say, this is all, I don't eat grass, this is grass, even though when it's good. Even old people even the parboiled rice, you say, this is too heavy for me, I can't eat it, because of that perception. So if these ministries will come in to help us, you know, as we are doing now with the Ministry of Information, passing information, you know, having, we started this Eco Fest, passing, giving information, inviting different sectors organized by the Ministry of Agriculture, bringing farmers, bringing other sectors, you know, bringing agriculture together. It's very, very good. But if only they will help we, you know, they will help us. We also need the media, the fourth estate. We need you guys, you know, to be. That is why His Excellency, he cleared it out that it should be nutritious feed Sierra Leone. That's why we have the nutrition units there. We really need that. Even this moringa. Moringa is very, very good. It's a very, very vegetable, medicinal, but not everybody knows the value. But if the Minister of Health comes in on televisions, newspapers, flyers, I think it will help us. Some people don't know even the egg they are producing, how many eggs you should eat, what it contains, the protein in your skin or in your system, they don't know. Even these beans, people don't know even the protein content on beans, maize, they don't know. But we are producers. If we have these line ministries coming to help us as a team, I think we'll succeed.
Alpha, what is the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security doing, whether in partnership with other MDAs or not, to promote nutrition? Because access to food is one thing. You want a healthy population where people eat healthy. It boosts the human capital in the country, again, which is another part of the five big game changes of the president. What are you doing about nutrition? It's not just to eat, it's to eat healthy.
It goes back to the choice of crops, the value chains that we have selected. So it's clear from us that all those value chains have massive nutritional value. Okay, take aside maybe cassava. It has its own, you know, dynamics in terms of its content. But it
also does have its own nutritional values.
Yes, but if you take orange sweet flesh potato, if you take the broad range of vegetables that we have, you know, the pulses, you know, we have the concho, which is called the pigeon pea or kajanus kajan, normally called, highly nutritious. So we are pushing all these varieties. Like I said, don't take away nutrition, the nutritional content in rice. We don't take away. It has so much nutritional content. Rice, the rice seeds you see, you know, it has.
But your diet does not require just rice all day every day.
That's exactly. But
it seems the public majority of the public is lacking that knowledge as to a healthy diet and what that can do to your system.
So we
doctors would give you their own perspective when they sit and look at people eating rice and gulping a can of soft. Added to that, they look at you and they see a disaster in the making. But again, it's a whole
very real change issue, cultural issue, like
but it's been identified as a problem in itself. So what are you doing about
that's
it?
why for us, we're making this available. We're making this available. We're giving choices. There is a whole nutritional guideline, diversity. They have a whole profile within the Directorate of Nutrition at the Ministry of Health. How you prepare your
How much of
meals.
that information is getting to the public? Because if it's just within the Directorate and it's not getting to the mass audience, what's the purpose? What's the point of having
So like she's saying, it's a whole of government approach. We're looking at this whole Feed Salone initiative, that every bits and pieces of these sectors needs to be on board. And then we enhance the awareness raising for our populace to say that if you are eating rice, you add some veg on it, you do some pulses, you have some protein content, because that's why we have now poultry everywhere across the country, and egg production is ramping up, and that's why we are confident to push a policy that will say we want our school children to eat 1 egg, you know, per day in schools. So because we value, you know, what children will take in school in terms of how that will build their retentive or their cognitive, their entire system. So we are clear that Feed Salone, it should nourish Sierra Leone. That's our mantra. So we will pursue as we move along. We're just early days. It's 2 years, seems like many years, but it's if you look from strategy paper, strategy document to implementation, and the transformation where we are now, it's still early days for us, but we are happy where we are because we see a nation resonating around a vision, and then everybody wants to come on board. And that is where I go back to sustainability issue that at some point in time, everybody now wants to come on board to do something so that they will say, I was part of that transformation. I at least a backyard garden I established. You know, I remember vividly during the investor conference, you spoke about your
my
small,
pineapple.
Yeah, your pineapple, yeah, which was so good. And if we have all, you know, many reporters, you know, all this electronic print have, you know, racks, garden all over their homes, and start educating their children at home, you know, that you should be doing this, you should be consuming this. This is not harmful for you. It just add value to your own healthy and how you will grow up in a way that you will be free from all these health hazards along the way. So it's for us. It's still work in progress. We are not there yet. We are not raising our heads. People are patting us on our back, but we are still calm. We still focus. We still look at our pillars every day and seeing the transformations we are making. That's why from the sustainability aspect, we said we put out $10 million credit scheme for private sector people because we want this to be sustainable. We know at the end of the day, it's private sector to go. We are not looking at it as saying this is coming directly from the ministry this time. No. We're giving this space to private sector. Go and engage the bank, have your money, and now we have a poultry feed mill established. So that's the sustainable way to go. It's not like giving somebody, a private person, to just go and do feed mill and then at the end of the project it stops. No, now we have a feed mill. We are sure that that feed mill will be sustainable. We have the $105 million project. There's a feed mill also that's going to be established in the southern region so that we ensure that farmers who are within this livestock space have access, you know, to feeds.
Now let's focus on poultry and livestock. John, this is your zone specifically. Over the years, what has been the progress made in that, you know, area of farming? I know before now the challenge was access to locally produced egg was in itself a problem. It was either unavailable or even when it was available, the size of our locally produced eggs were much smaller than the imported eggs. Then the locally produced chicken, Contifo, was much expensive than the imported. What are the gains made in the poultry sector thus far?
Well, I have to say this. Part of I think it's 3 or 4 value chain that the Feed Salone wants to achieve, how is it called, zero importation or import substitution as an objective in the strategy. Poultry is on the lead, I tell you. Of course, a lot of interest has been generated, as I said, with the Feed Salone project. We see the president, we see the minister that is very much engaged with providing support to us. Support has seen, well, during the campaign, he was with us. When we call, he's there listening, even though there are many challenges that our farmers are complaining about, especially when the director was talking about agri financing, the $10 million credits at the Bank of Sierra Leone. We have issues with that. We've gone there on several occasions. But on a whole, with private sector investments, a lot of people are coming into the sector. A lot.
What impact is that having for the consumers?
Well, at the moment, the only challenge that we have, as you were talking about challenges, small egg size has never been a challenge. Maybe when the birds start to lay at the early stage, the eggs are small. Maybe it's specific to a certain farmer or whatever. But our eggs are competitive the size.
Before now, that was the reality on the ground. Our local eggs were smaller in size. What happened that they now look bigger?
I think you would have to receive one crate of egg before I leave. The driver is on his way.
Thank you.
So you look at the size of the eggs. So it has never been an issue, specifically. The size of our eggs is between 55 grams to 60 grams. It's the same with imported eggs. Imported eggs is 55 grams. Some of them coming from India and other places, Turkey. It's 52, 55 grams. Sometimes our eggs are even bigger than the imported eggs coming in the country because they are doing it purposely to sell. So the challenge that we have is importation, as we've always said. The importers are bringing eggs, sell at a price that our farmers cannot sell, below the cost of production. And they will sustain that level of price for a long period of time. Imagine, he was saying, it's easier to import, for them to import, for the eggs to come, even though we go again to health and safety of our people, because this also should be a health concern for our citizens, for the government as well, because these eggs coming into this country, some of them have already exceeded their shelf life in those countries. They don't need them. And they bring them here cheaply and sell to the general populace.
It was useful when we did not have a significant quantity produced in country.
Well,
the quantity produced right now in country, would it suffice for the nation?
Yes. I don't want the public to understand, to take this as a justification that we do not have the quantity. We should risk.
But what's the capacity, the production capacity of our locally produced eggs now?
I'm coming, Phoebe. We should not risk food safety on the altar of food security because we don't have. They bring any eggs, sell, and then we spend a lot on health, the budget for our citizens. It's an issue. It's just that we don't have statistics. We don't have data. We are not a data-driven country that way, even though we are.
I once had a conversation with a doctor who said in those eggs, mostly the eggs and the chicken, they found salmonella and some of the things that contribute towards typhoid.
Yeah, this is a concern. Salmonella is on the increase, and it's largely coming from eggs and chickens that are coming from overseas. They spend 2 months or one and a half months coming. Some of them have already exceeded their shelf life. And you see in the cartoon, they are proud to say it's 6 months of shelf life. It's not happening anywhere in the world.
What can be done to not only protect the business of the farmers in poultry, but also the consumers? We're again looking at, it's not just access to food, it's healthy food that can keep your human capital intact. What do you think should be done?
For us, what we are asking is not unfair advantage. What we are asking is for us to compete on the fair grounds. How we know? We want, first of all, we've requested from the minister, is being responsive actually. The other day we have a meeting with the Minister of Trade and Minister of Agriculture. He's very responsive. We are going to have this meeting with the importers for us to understand the CI value. It was done for the rice. The rice, they brought them to the table, the importers of rice. They brought them to the table and then they look at the cost, the entire cost. The cost, the insurance and the freights that they pay landed in Salone, plus additional cost of logistics. That was how we arrived at the point where the rice price went down, because we have a formula. But for us, we know already, because I've done some studies around that, from Turkey, their suppliers in Turkey. I know it costs them way more than what they are selling. They are selling way more than what it costs them. So it could either mean that either they are not paying taxes.
So they're selling it, let me understand this, they're selling the products, by product to mean the eggs and the imported chicken, imported eggs and chicken, cheaper than they're supposed to.
Yes.
But why would a group of people come together to disadvantage local farmers in poultry sector by selling products much cheaper than they pay to bring them into the country?
Okay, I tell you, they are not making.
Business-wise, it doesn't make sense.
Yes, they're making profit. What I'm saying is this: if they pay the right taxes, they pay the cost that we have inquired with in India and in Turkey, they will not sell below. For instance, I give an example: they will not sell below 1.2 per carton. There was a point in 2024, around November, they were selling at 1.2. When the cost of production for us was 1,080 loans per carton, they were selling at 1.2 per carton. But when we did the calculations, their cost should be around 1,250, including the cost, the taxes that they're supposed to pay. We did not consider the warehouse cost. They have to respect the cold chain. They have somewhere to freeze those eggs. All of those costs. So it tells us either they are not paying the right taxes, or they just want to deliberately kill the market so they can continue to import.
Are you proposing that they should increase the taxes they pay?
It's already there. It's already in the 2026 Finance Act. They told us that they've increased it to 40%. But that's not the case.
Would that help?
It will not help because there are structural issues with data at customs level as well. Because how is it that possible that they can sell below the market price, below the cost of their production? It could only mean that it's either they are not paying the right taxes. For the tax, it's fine.
Have you brought this to the attention of the Anti-Corruption Commission?
Maybe that would be the next
corruption. If peradventure the allegation stands to be beyond just an allegation but a fact, that constitutes corruption, that certain people would be led to not pay the required taxes. Have you notified the Anti-Corruption Commission?
We've not done that yet, but what I will tell you is this. It's not that they are doing it every time. Whenever they have huge stock, their eggs are going bad, they sell. So this is the problem. It's
that could be auction. It's part of business. When you feel that your goods, your perishable goods, or even if they're not perishable goods, you feel like you need to restock. Even people who do boutiques, they do that from time to time.
You are kicking below the belt.
A product you were supposed to sell 10,000, some people take 40% off. There are some promotions, some auctions, people take even up to 50% off of the prices.
It's unfair.
It's part of business.
It's unfair target. We believe that it's target and it's kicking below the belt because this is the cost of the farmers producing. You cannot sell below because you want to just...
What's the possibility of our local farmers going as well lower? When they go low, you go lower. What's the possibility of that?
You can't.
Why?
Because the cost of production is high. You have a lot of... To raise 1,000 bahts is not easy. It's over 250 million. Onions you have to spend in raising just 1,000. 250 million onions, yes. So it's not easy to raise bahts. It's not easy. It's quite expensive, capital intensive. So you cannot sell below. That's the reason why most farms are closing. We have many farms around the country. Some have closed down because they are small. They cannot compete in those markets. So the problem is, let's have a price in formula. We have it for fuel. We have it for rice now. Why not for eggs? If your eggs are going bad, you don't sell it to the public. That is where Standard Bureau comes in. You trash it. It's not a issue.
So you don't.
We should not suffer because you don't, because it has health implications. It's not about business. That's not. It's not. I mean, they're suffering our farmers as well, but it's not all about it. It's about the health of our citizens. Many of these importers are they are not many. They have 4 or 5 of them. When you look at the data that we requested for, there are not many. As opposed to farmers, thousands of people that are employed within that livelihood. So government has to protect us. And I see the government very willing. I see the minister working on it very hard. But there are bottlenecks as well, here and there.
What are these bottlenecks?
Many of our farmers, like I said, they need to be recapitalized. They need funding. We spoke with him, I think, around 20 when
But there's access to loan now, specifically for farming. For the agricultural sector.
Yes.
That's an opportunity available to all and sundry, or Alpha is...
policy is part of the value chain.
Are they not part of it?
We are priority.
No, it's part.
We are priority. But the problem now is, for us, it could have been easier if we have a quota for poultry. Because now we cannot even ascertain how many of our poultry farmers are benefiting from this. Because we have complaints from our farmers that have applied, people that we know for sure they meet the requirements in terms of reporting. They have all registration documents they've applied. Some of them are very senior citizens of this country. Some of them have applied. They've not got this loan.
So have you taken that complaint back to the Ministry of Agriculture?
Yes.
Because the purpose of bringing all these opportunities is to be able to scale up the sector. So if there are bottlenecks, have you reported to the ministry?
Yes, we've done that. We appreciate it, and then we make recommendations as well.
What are you doing about the complaint as a ministry? These are issues. The purpose of bringing all these...
Maybe just for the director to have a clear picture about it. Taking these loans, putting it to commercial banks, there is a risk. because this commercial bank has an orientation of making profit. So they give these loans to business people instead of farmers that are they consider very risky.
But Alpha, were these loans, was the money not given to them specifically identifying that this is for the agricultural sector?
Yes.
So what's the possibility of that money taken now to be given to people who are not within the agricultural sector?
It's very, very slim, the way we carve out
Slim but not impossible.
Well, it's because the data we have, it's impossible for them to do that, because we were clear, the minister was very clear on the value chains for support. And then we allowed them to do their own due diligence, because it's having learned from what we have done with other credits. We have to do things differently this time. So we are not looking at who gets it, we are looking at the output. Yeah, so
I don't understand. Break that down.
We're not looking at who gets the loan.
So meaning, even if it's not someone within the agricultural space, they should have access?
No, it should be within the agricultural space, working within those value chain. And then what we are looking at the output now, because the conversations are different. Who gets this? Who gets this? Who gets that? We're saying now we have $10 million credit, almost 95% taken. We have a poultry feed mill. We have more than 3 machine ring established. We have private sector entities who have now stocked of fertilizer at the KC store from that loan. So, and the way the loan was tailored, that it's difficult for you to because it's on demand and delivery. Let's say the gentleman who applied for fertilizer credit, now he only needs to bring his invoice where he wants to ship the fertilizer from. It's from Holland, they pay direct, and then the fertilizer is shipped in
So
country.
the money doesn't go through the person that applied,
exactly,
it goes to the supplier.
And
so
then,
you receive the goods.
Yes, because that's what we want. We are talking about the quantity of fertilizer that we need in country. So we are having trouble in the past when we give credit direct to business people, they do other things. And then we have false data that tells us that we have given fertilizer credit to X number of fertilizer dealers, and then we don't have the fertilizer in country. So this is a different narrative. When the machine rings that were established, we have new ones in the machine ring in Kono and the one in McKinney. Go to the vendor, and then they deliver the machines for you. In fact, there is a private sector who the guy did, how they call, it's custom-made machines that he did, because he wanted value, that those machines should work, and if they don't work, he goes back to the supplier, and then this is not the specification, given how he understands, the land spaces that we have now, because they are, how our country is boxed into different agroecological zones. Some of the machines, their shelf life, if you work with them in some particular area, they will not work. So he gives precision guidelines on the machines that he wants. So that is why we know the challenges with the credit. We hear them, those private sector people. But if one thing that the minister will go in for another shot with the commercial bank is this system that we've just rolled out.
But when they come with these complaints of, challenges or
access the funds.
Challenges with accessing these funds, do you follow up as a ministry to a point where the person or people end up getting an explanation, so there's clarity to why they did not get access to the money? Because at the end of the day, the absence of that would leave 1, 2 or more people to fuel a conversation to say all these big things you hear on the news are just flamboyant statements and they are not the reality on the ground.
So you know how the bank, he knows that. He just spoke about why many poultry houses closed. Yeah, there were the critical issue. It's not about the money you have to
No,
raise
I'm specifically asking regards the complaint he spoke about.
So that's why
some people have applied, but they did not get access. Do you follow up on these complaints?
So we had the conversation with the bank. The bank, they're telling us, so they are doing foundational stuff. So now, if a poultry man applied, and then somebody applied to do a feed mill, and somebody applied to do maize production, and these are the ingredients that you need to support the chicks. They know their critical challenge within the poultry sector is feed. It's not about the money they need to do some of those other stuff. It's feed. And one of the critical components in terms of the feed is maize. So the competition the competition for the money, we know that money, that portfolio was very small. So we are telling them there are many windows of opportunities, there are grant facilities coming up, so we will explore. Now that we are confident that we have a feed mill, that if you go and access $50,000 loan or credit to raise 100,000 birds of chicken or 1,000 birds of chicks, you have a feed mill that can supply you feed. So there is no excuse. You have people who are now doing over 160, 70 hectares of maize fields, to support. Of course, the other, things that come into it, they are still being exported or imported, to have the formulation that they need. But we hear them.
From them when you take these complaints?
Yes. We've filed a complaint with the minister, and I think he has asked us to go and then get from the bank, basically. As he's saying, he said the risk is small. It could be true that the risk is small to give to business people. But maybe this points out to the fact that we are being a little marginalized with this 10 million, because we can count the number of farmers that have accessed these funds. Of course, we are happy that there is a feed mill, an industrial scale feed mill in Waterloo that accesses this fund. But there are also farmers that applied for these funds, and we can count barely those that have actually get these funds at the end of the day. So this is a challenge. Is it possible that they put quota, for instance, this $10 million, there are value chains that they prioritize? Poultry, you have the $1 million. That's it. So we know that the support actually came to us. But from our data, from what we gather from our farmers, many of them, very seasoned, you see their farms very structured. They have the collateral that is required from the bank. They are not getting this funds.
Alpha, that's
it's
a
challenge.
strong point.
Yeah, it's a very strong point. But what I want to say also again, now we have for them, we have a $105 million project, Phoebe, for livestock. So there is no head breaking again. So this is their own. Come walk alongside.
John, is that a smile?
Come walk alongside the project team and run with this, because it's completely private sector built up.
We're trying to round off this, edition of AYV on Sunday. But as we round off, I was going to take us to fruits and vegetables. Mariama, you touched on it earlier, but I let that slide because I was keeping that for the last part. Fruits and vegetables in countries seem to be pretty much expensive. And from time to time, you'll find that there are people who complain. Why do we have locally produced fruits and vegetables being that expensive? For example, banana. You'll find people who would show you just 4 bananas and they will tell you 20 leons. From time to time, you'd have people complain, but this is locally produced. Why is it expensive? Because that in itself affects the interest of certain classes of people to diversify their diet by eating healthy. They would go for available and affordable, not what's a balanced diet. Why are locally produced fruits and vegetables expensive?
That is because some of these tree crops are phasing out. Yes, they are phasing out. They are phasing out. So that is why the Minister of Agriculture, they are doing a lot. It's a hectic thing, bringing all these foodstuffs together. That's why they choose few. But that doesn't mean the tree crops are not important. Not only cocoa, like cocoa, cashew, or coffee. No, all those are tree crops. They pay attention there. So that's why we have private sectors that have started doing hundreds of acres on banana, on coconut, on papaya. All those, they are
papaya, avocado, those are also some of the expensive ones.
Yes, they are expensive because they are phasing out. Trust me, we are up there going all of they are phasing out. That's why the Minister of Agriculture is doing their best to make sure in your farm to help you for this climate resilient, you can have trees around. You can have trees. That will help you not only the cost, but your tree crop can help you to reduce, your post-harvest losses. So that's why. But in as much as they are expensive, they have value in our system. And when you used to eat them, even once in a month, trust me, you will not be going to the hospital every day. Or neither be seeing your doctor every 3 months or every 2 months. Trust me. So as I said earlier, we need these sectors to come together to make sure, Sierra Leone is food self-sufficiency, based on nutrition. So, the nutrition laws are not supposed to just be there. They're supposed to be out to the media. Local groups come to the farmers. That's why when the Ministry of Agriculture, when they have information, that's why we are part of their policies. When we have the policies, it's our own duties as a federation. We go down to the last village to make sure we disseminate the information in their local language. To tell them that you eat what you go and go what you eat, because it's better that way than every time going to the hospital or either US.
Alpha, what's the future of Feed Salone?
So there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you ask me, when we started this whole trajectory that Dr. Bakar is leading, and the trajectory of growth we are seeing now, the resource mobilization we are doing, the many projects, many pledges we are converting into concrete projects, it's just for me to say, yes, we are in the right trajectory. I think and I believe that if we continue to do what we are doing and we have that support from the farmers, the investment that we are making, because it's huge investment we are making as a nation. We are, you see, president, minister traveling every day, engaging investors to come in and invest, to put in their own money. We are also taking credit loan scheme from our multilateral partners. Those who have made all these pledges, we're trying to convert these pledges to a concrete program. Now we have $105 million livestock project. Now we have $40 million cassava project going to be launched by the minister very soon. Now we are closing in on $75 million project from African Development Bank to build Kichom and Mambolo cluster. So all this investment we're pushing for them. It's a clear indicator that we are moving in the right direction. The foundational things we are doing, we are not, you see recently we had the seed laboratory being, so these are clear signs that yes, because you cannot build a food system transformation pathway without all these things that we are putting in place right now.
What are the business opportunities in the agricultural sector?
So there are many business opportunities. Rice alone, an average Sierra Leonean eats 133 kg of rice per year, per capita. It's more than 3-4 bags of rice. So there's business. And that when we go out, that's the marketing we do. And the business, the investors, they do the math, they said, yes, Sierra Leone is placed for investment. So what we are doing now is to build those infrastructures within those zones, fix the road, get electricity into these areas, because these are the critical things that the investors will ask. If I go to Kichom, do I have energy? Do we have the road fixed to evacuate my goods or my rice after processing? Do we have the rice milling facility? So these are the things. So we are responding to them. On the tree crop area also, we are doing well on tree crops. We're doing well on the building the foundational infrastructures for the inland valley swamp. That's sustainability. That's responding to climate change. Because at the end of the day, we need to ensure that we do 2 or 3 crop production per year. If we can do rice 2 times and then you do vegetable, at least a season, one season cultivation within the inland valley swamp. If we develop the irrigation facilities, we can do 3 cropping season with proper management of water at the end of the day. So we see all this grand scheme that we are moving on to ensure that private sector have that comfortable space. We want to catalyze the PC and Sons model, replicate it into other areas, but the signs we are getting, the story we are getting from PC and Sons, maybe in the next 2 years we're done with onion importation in country. Maybe we don't need the same infrastructure in Moyamba, just within the Lunge axis with the outgrower scheme that they have established and their own nucleus farm. So that's the vision, and that's how we want to move in sustaining these gains that we are making within the Feed Salone.
So for Mariama and John, I'll ask you the same question. What do you think is the future of Feed Salone, and how can we as a nation attain food self-sufficiency? I'll start with you, Mariama.
By dedicating ourselves to produce, so that in the future, we as Sierra Leone, it will be 1 + 1 + 1. It will not be like before, 0, 0, 1. Most of the time, 1, 0, 1. Sometimes 0, 0, 0. It depends on the location. So as a federation, as NAFSEL, representing farmers in this country, Sierra Leone, I believe it will be a success. Especially we as women, 75%, according to the UN report. And we have the bread basket in our hands, and we are ready, we are willing to make sure, even if there is no feed salon, we'll make sure our home is filled with food, and the country has said.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Maybe I can just, because I'm sure my farming community will not forgive me if I don't lend my word on the 105 million LLPD project.
Sure.
Last week, I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, our people are there at the workshop, the facilitation workshop. And we noticed the project designed will actually not support the commercial poultry sector, because it's for livelihood, it's for household, to boost household income. You give 50 bahts, according to what the project is saying, 10, 20 bahts to a household. The target is 60,250 households. For us, we wanted to put our case through, say, okay, why not put $2 million out of that one for farmers? And from the reply our colleagues get from them is that it's difficult, the project has already been designed. So it begs the situation that in other nations, like in Asia, Vietnam, if donors want to support, they look at the sectoral policy of that value chain that they want to support. Now, as poultry sector, we have a sectoral policy on poultry and poultry products. The policy is one of the best policy with activity plan on those policy, and the investments that is needed to boost the sector for us to reach zero importation by 2020 or even better. Everything, the roadmap is there. We just need small amounts to recapitalize our farmers.
By small amount, you mean how much?
1-2 million is possible to recapitalize, because the problem is not about the fund, the capital. Like I said, many of us are private sector, people putting in their money inside. But this project is telling us that for the grant, they put 1 million for grant. If we want to access it, if a private sector want to access it, they can only access $2,500 to $10,000. $10,000 can, if I have 5,000 birds, cannot even feed my birds for 2 weeks with $10,000. So it means it's not even a support for the commercial farmer. It could be good for boosting, how is it called, household income, because part of the objectives, the strategic objective of the pillar is to boost, but it's not going to create jobs. As that project will not create jobs as we have it, because they are saying it's household, they give birds. They go to Phebean, you are raising a few birds, they give you 50 birds, 20 birds. How is that going to reach to a point where you employ people? It's impossible. Why not support the private sector that already there? We are asking even for a loan or grant. It's not something that single-digit loans from this fund. So this also is something that we'll have to bring the press statement out concerning this, to take exception to this on the entire design of this thing. I believe the feed salon strategy is an amazing strategy, and we can reach to food self-sufficiency if we receive the right coordination of these donors, partners that are coming in. Let them support where the directions are. We have a pillar on mechanization and irrigation. Support in this, because it's highly capital intense. Private sector will not do it. The importers will not come and do it, except you force them. You cannot incentivize them to come, like we are seeing. You ask the question, how would you get them? How do you market to them? You don't market to them. You force them to come to do it, because it's quite expensive. It's only government that will do this. And I think this government has seen it very important to the risk to come into the, but we talk about funding again in that situation. Now, even the 5,000 hectares, we are yet to arrive at a situation where it would start to plant. And even that, the money that was donated, that was put aside, allocated for the Toma bomb, is just for irrigations, waterways, the canals and electricity, roads, which is amazing. It's fine. But it's highly capital intensive, and it's 8% of our budget. So it means these donors that are coming should work with government on these pillars that we are very certain that we would arrive at food self-sufficiency if the funds are available to the minister. The minister is very much hardworking, very committed. He has visited almost all of agricultural realities in this country. You see him jogging even in Makeni at some point when he goes late. Sometimes he goes for public speaking at Unimac. You see him running other farms, encouraging them, boosting the momentum for national integrity of our food system. So he's doing an amazing thing. We have to get them. Vietnam, you don't come just spend money like that. You have to be directed on where to fund it. Yeah, you want to implement on the poultry sector. We have a policy. Work with the farmers. Otherwise, how would you evaluate 60,000 households? So this is a concern that we would have to bring out a press statement on this. The discussion is ongoing in our group because the report has been sent from what we gather from the workshop, and we are going to put a position paper. We'll meet our father, the Minister of Agriculture. We'll have to hear about this. Because we believe that this fund would have been a game changer for the sector. We don't need much. It's not about the money. It's about recapitalizing these farmers, creating an enabling environment for this to thrive. It can create a lot of jobs. But how will household subsistence farming lead to 35,000 jobs that is in the Feed Salone initiative to create jobs of 35,000? How will household, if you give me 10 bahts, 20 bahts, how will I even assess the impact of this? We've seen those projects come and go, and the impact is not tangible. So that's the reason why our people were there. They told them that, look, this is it. We want you guys at least put 2 million for loans, single digit. We are not asking for much. The association will take responsibility of this. We will de-risk these funds. We have very senior. The Poultry Association is one of those where you have all walks of life. You have members of parliament, many of them. You have professors of universities. You have doctors. Many of them are there. So it's an elite group of people. We can de-risk that fund. We can revolve these funds for many people to come into the investment, and then we can give back those funds to wherever they come from.
And in a few seconds, how do we attain food self-sufficiency as a nation?
Yes. Of course, we've seen the strategy. The strategy is very clear with pillars. The pillar is how we do it. And then the objectives are clear, the outcomes. It tells you clearly that there is a roadmap and there is a destination. There is all the issues is the vehicle, the finance to reach. Agriculture is capital intensive.
Sure.
We have to say this. Even with government that wants to create the enabling environment, they've done a lot in terms of policy. We've seen it in all sectors. We've seen the policies to model a development sector. But the concern is finance. For the rice, it's the same thing. For poultry, it's the same thing. For us, we don't need much. And our people are well organized. We have a huge structure that we can de-risk. So for me, it's the funding and the coordination of these development partners that are coming with funds, saying we are going to give 1 million on this project, They have to coordinate with the ministry. Where are the priority areas? Pillar 1, mechanization and irrigation. Why not bring some of these funds for us to reach? We have to take tough decisions at some point. Vietnam, at some point, they were telling them, okay, go, you can go. If you don't want to do as they need. But why is it that they come, they do their I just give you the example of the livestock project. So that's the reason why. So I'm very sure, I'm very certain, if this is just the second year, I'm very sure we will reach at self-sufficiency in this country if these issues that we've itemized are dealt with.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will end today's edition of AYV on Sunday here. On the panel this evening, I've had Alpha Yaya Mansae, who is the Director of Extension, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. I had Maria Maketa, National Women's Leader of the National Federation of Farmers, Sierra Leone, and I had John Gaba Bangura, poultry farmer and entrepreneur. Sincere thanks to all of you, our lovely audience, for tuning into the program. Thanks for your participation on the comment section, and we apologize for not reading out your messages in today's edition. Please accept our apology. Thanks to the entire technical and production unit for AYV on Sunday, to the producers, Emmanuel Nyakemomo and Ransford McLean, and to the entire AYV on Sunday technical and graphical crew. A repeat broadcast of the program will be aired on Tuesday at 11 a.m. on DSTV channel 399. I am Phebean Swill. You've been hearing and watching us from the top of Tower Hill on Wesley Street in the heart of Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown. Up next is Primetime News. Goodbye for now.